Oh, man, no. It's one of the 23 commandments of 4. Don't mix dairy and baby.
I'm Brodor, and this is Why We Game. My guest today is from the 51st state, Rico Corazon. Rico, how are you today, sir?
Feeling good, feeling alive,
now,
happy to be here.
Not only are you beautiful, right, and I say that to a lot of people in the gaming industry, but you're like a cut above. You're like Pete Petruccia imagining games beautiful. And in fact, people can say, oh, this dude looks like Jesus Christ. No, you don't understand. Rico has played the Son of God himself in a passion play. See, Rico, you didn't know that I did my cyber stalking, but I did.
Oh God, how did you unearth that? Yes,
Rico.
I was put up on the cross as a teenager. I was like 15 with my like belly length hair. I looked the part, and I was like called out in a like public mass. I was raised Catholic, and so it wasn't really my choice. It was very much a nomination, and then the proud look on my mother's face, and also the underlying knowledge that I couldn't say no, had me up on that cross. I was covered in fake blood and like had to like speak to the crowd in Spanish. And also like a friend of mine played one of the soldiers, and they were supposed to be fake whipping me, but he was really whipping me. And so I took some pain for the people.
And that's exactly what I thought too, is that if there was any correlation between you and a deity, it would be Jesus Christ.
Oh, wow.
So
I hope to be giving and caring for the people like it.
You are. So I met you at Gamehole Con last year, back in 2021. And
what a name for a convention, huh?
Well, so Alex Kammer, who is one of the originators of the show, right? I had him on the show. And we talked about it. And apparently the Gamehole was just the name of their game club. And so when they decided that they were going to make a con, they just named it after their game club, the Gamehole.
Right. Definitely didn't know what to expect diving into the game hole.
Well, yeah, because what I was expecting was a poor man's comfort or luxury glory hole, right? Like somebody took pool noodle foam and rimmed the outside of the little wall between the two stalls because they didn't want me to get metal burns on my dong.
Yeah, I imagined a little bit of an extra bonus jackpot on a slot machine is the game hole, but anyway, not anything I want to win.
I tell you what, though, it was honestly probably not one of the best shows that I've been to. Certainly the show I look forward to going to the most again in this year. I really do. I thought it was remarkable because it had that beautiful blend of intimacy and small convention. And yet there were a lot of people there whom I would call a big deal in the industry.
Yes. And very like tangibly there, like interfacing with people. There wasn't like, quote unquote, big shots behind the curtain. It was like everyone was right there. We were playing games and it felt good.
You were on a panel for professional game masters. Now, I sat in on that panel in that, I was a professional sex worker for 10 minutes in college, right? But you do the real deal full time. And
sometimes it feels like I'm shaking my thing on screen. So.
Does it?
Oh, yeah. I will say, I am paid for, role play. Where does that role play go? I keep it away from any of the cam girl nonsense, but it feels like I'm shaking my thing up here sometimes.
Wow. So. See, now in my mind, I have this dark fantasy of an OnlyFans sort of game mastering thing, right? Where every time your players get a crit, Rico has to take off a piece of clothing.
Oh man, strip D&D.
Yeah, strip D&D for sure. But you're the guy, right? So it's a bunch of middle-aged divorcees and really powerful, strong women who are making 6 and 7 figures. And they just want to be thrashed in some sort of graphic combat and see you naked.
Wow. So like BDSM meets D&D, BD&DSM.
Yeah, BD and DSM. I think that's brilliant. I think that we have a market. Now, I don't have the body to be that guy, but or that smile. Look at that fucking smile. That's the thing that people can't see, is because this is audio, they cannot see that shit-eating grin you have on your face. It's almost as if you're already doing this professionally.
I work my ways in many different avenues. I have my methods, I'll say.
All right. So,
but yeah, go ahead.
No, please. I was going to say you're 25, 26.
I just turned 26 last month. So yeah, feeling good. I think a little bit of a young buck in the industry, but doing my thing.
Yeah. See, now that picture of you I saw on your Instagram that said 10 years ago you died on the cross for our sins. See, I knew then when you said that you did that when you were 15, I knew 25, 26 years old. See, cold reading is all bullshit, right?
This guy's doing the math.
Yeah, it's just cold reading is all bullshit. Anybody says that they talked to your dead grandpa's a fucking liar. Anyway, I know I'm all over the map, but that's what we do here on Why We Game, is we kind of drill down, we take a circuitous route to who you are as a gamer. So when did you start playing?
Oh, I remember just playing games before I could like read or do math. I remember my parents gave me a Game Boy when I was like 3 years old. And I remember the feat of like beating the whole game with a single Pokemon and learning how to read, learning how to do math, literally through the battles and learning, what equated to what. Okay, it squirted out like that. It did damage. On the show, they call that water gun. So that says water gun. And then, I learned like, okay, this is a stronger move. This has more value than this. This is 4. This is 3. I need a critical hit to kill them. And it just taught me so much. Like, I think gaming has been like foundational to like my development as a thinker in so many ways. And then like past that, I was always looking for escapes as a kid. I grew up an only child, and my parents were always working. My grandparents had a restaurant. So I was always just like in a booth at my grandparents' restaurant while my mom was in the kitchen with my grandparents. And so I was there gaming or reading. And either way, it was an escape from where I was to somewhere else. And in so many of those games, I loved role-playing games. So things like Pokemon or more fantasy. I got into World of Warcraft and loved role-playing servers because I could make a druid and stand next to a tree and say, this tree is my best friend. I would name the tree. I would yell to the people who passed and we would talk and offer gifts to the tree. But there's one thing we couldn't do. We couldn't climb the tree. We couldn't climb that tree because there was nothing in the code that said you could climb the tree. And so I was always limited. And then later in life, I found tabletop role playing. And so finally I found that opportunity that if I wanted to climb the tree, I could. Well, actually, there's a chance that I could. The DM would still have to roll to see if I could, or I would have to roll to see if I could. And so there's really limitless possibilities. And that is the true escape. What I think like tabletop gaming in particular has enabled me is like full autonomy, especially as the dungeon master, to make the world whatever we want it to be. And that's really what I think has shaped me in life, in seeking an escape and then making that idealized escape into a reality.
When did you first encounter tabletop? Because here's what's interesting to me is that because I just turned 47, right? So I'm 21 years older than you. So when I think of gaming, it is almost, it's not, because I've conditioned myself to not be this way, but it's almost anathema, right? That gaming to me has always been in person and tabletop and not electronic. But as I've gotten older, I've had to learn and accept that younger people like yourselves, electronic gaming, it is gaming. It's synonymous with any other type of gaming.
Electronic gaming was really what, when I think of gaming, is what comes to mind first and was the first world of gaming. I remember learning so many of the bands that I love from Guitar Hero. I remember making friendships with people I never met through Halo, and just spending hours making maps in this fake digital world. And so none of that was in real life. And I think that was the foundation. And maybe that's what made it so special when gathering in person for the first time. I only started playing D&D. I remember trying to play a few times in high school and middle school, but none of us really knowing what we were doing. It never really got off the ground. But then after college, I found a group, and I felt out of myself. I felt like I experienced ego death. I had a heroic dose of LSD and expanding outside of myself. And
that may be one of the greatest phrases I've ever heard uttered in English. A heroic dose of LSD.
A heroic dose. Heroic dose is a term in the psychonauts community. Heroic doses were recommended by Terrence McKenna when you're trying to break through. And I felt a breakthrough when I first played. My mind expanded, and after that, I was a teacher, and then later on, teacher of teachers. I taught 5th grade special ed, and then ran workshops on how to care for kids and see the whole child and all that. It was great. But I found myself, when I wasn't working, just hours and hours a day thinking about D&D, reading D&D books, or just looking up lore on ancient Greek monsters that I wanted to throw in some of my tabletop games. And this was all when I was just playing one game a week. And then it just snowballed into so much more of a passion that I needed more. I felt addicted, and maybe it's an escape mechanism for myself. Maybe I need to address that, but it's also something that I love, is getting out of my head and helping others get out of their head. And I think seeking so many of these chances for it started to take up so much of my time. I took on another group and another group and another group. I was like, man, I really want to give these groups my heart. I think I am. And it started to take up more time than I was putting into my actual work. And then around the time that the pandemic hit, it was tough working in schools. It is kind of a nightmare in schools right now. And I saw an opportunity that was much more appetizing. And so I went full force into, reaching out to my players and saying, hey, I'd appreciate some support in this. I'm putting hours into crafting stories and providing an escape. And then everyone was on board. And so I was able to leave teaching and move into full-time game mastering, put listings up, put down my experience, got some word of mouth, honestly did a little bit of, the spam marketing at the start, but hey, we all got to get off the ground somewhere. People need to know who I am. I still think, but it's been good ever since. The momentum is held strong, and people have had great times in my games. And I've got players that come once, twice, 3 times a week for our sessions. The moment I'm running 10 at my highest, I was running 13 games a week.
Okay. There are so many things here to unpack. First,
I kind of just keep going. Yeah.
No. Which is brilliant. I mean, I should talk less on my show, right? I should let the guest speak more for sure. But I have to ask, when did you make the decision to say, okay, I'm teaching full time. That's what I do. I'm going to stop doing teaching, and I am going to run Dungeons and Dragons as my career. I can make that work. How did that happen?
I think for so much of my teaching career, it started out as a therapist for children with autism, and then moved into teaching a special services classroom. And my heart was in it. My heart is in it still. I care for these kids. But I ultimately was seeing that the structure wasn't helping them. And my actions as the facilitator of the the actions that were told to me, the demands of the system, of society, of government mandates and education are like really crippling to like any real growth that we could have for youth. It's really disappointing. And a lot of my games that I run are with kids. 4 of the games that I run completely with children. And I think at the moment I do more benefit for those kids than the kids that I was teaching. And so I think there was a long road to get to where I am. And so that doesn't answer your question of what the decision was then and how I got there. But I think I was looking at the birds in the bush and they were much more appetizing than the bird I had in the hand. I said, fuck it.
You preempted my next question. You really do feel like the kids that you're game mastering for, you're able to make a better impact on them than you did when you were teaching?
I think the relationship that I have with the youth that I interact with now is so much more genuine. I think that especially for my like neurodivergent youth that I work with now, which are a good portion, they get to practice social skills and go through interactions that they probably wouldn't otherwise.
Can I ask?
Prepares them so much more for the future than me trying to get them to correctly write the number 6 because they have the trouble writing 6 instead of 9. Doing that over and over again. And I understand there are different skill sets and different needs, but I feel so much more of a genuine, and I feel maybe it's even bad to like hierarchize those needs. But I personally feel like I'm doing more for the kids and providing them also an escape from the rough, I feel like, war that is school for a child at the moment. Is that they can come out of school and at 4:45, they know that they're going to go to their fake school. We go to the Conservatory of Courage, where they're a young hero learning to adventure. And that is where they can live out maybe the school day they wanted to live. And I think that matters so much.
Sorry, I'm stunned thinking about it from that perspective, is that you're able to cultivate a more sincere and emotionally intimate relationship with these individuals.
Yes.
Through gaming, as opposed to and
I've also like received feedback from the children personally and their parents that it affects them, that it's like they're looking forward to this all week and speaking about it on the weekends, like talking about their after school program, because that's how we're pitching it to the kids and the parents. It's an after school program and it's role play experience. I have data to prove that, like social science and fact check data, peer reviewed, that shows that role playing helps kids, especially kids on the spectrum. And so it literally does help.
Because I am old and language is always evolving, and I'm not ashamed of being ignorant, I'm only ashamed of continuing to be ignorant. I don't actually know what you mean when you say neurodivergent. I understand.
Neurodivergent is like an umbrella term to catch like autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, maybe bipolar disorder, mood affective disorders, oppositional defiance disorder, just things that maybe would put a kid or a person in a different mental state that might affect their daily life or affect their way of living.
Gotcha.
So pretty much mental illness, quote unquote, someone with a mental illness would be neurodivergent.
And there is data proving that role-playing games are beneficial for people that are in this category.
Correct.
Where do I find this data? Because I want to link it. Yeah, if you'll send it to me.
Yeah,
I want to link it to the show notes. Yeah,
a few like peer-reviewed studies, also a few tabletop therapists that are pretty prominent in the industry.
I would love that. Please.
Yeah, that do talks. I believe Megan Connell is one of them. Dr. Megan Connell is a psychologist who works like with geek therapy, and she runs therapeutic game groups to like help folks deal with these things. And like role play can really help in like practicing a conversation before it happens in real life.
I have said this before, but I really do believe that role-playing games have more than once saved me from myself.
Yeah.
I really do, because I would fall under the category of neurodivergent, and role-playing games are the thing that have really helped me to maintain sanity and to build social relationships and to build lifelong networks of people with whom I am still close and for whom I have a lot of loyalty. Anyway, so let me ask this, because you're doing game mastering 10 at one time you were doing 13 games in a week. Where the fuck do you find the time to run that many games in a week? So I guess what I'm asking is, what is your schedule like? Because obviously you need preparation, but eventually you have so much in your arsenal, right? You have so many things in the file categories of games for you to run, so much generated material to draw upon, that I guess at some point preparation doesn't become as necessary. But fuck, dude, where do you find the time?
Yeah, I think that's a question I get all the time. And it's, I don't want to call myself a doctor, but like a doctor goes to med school and then is practicing. I think similarly, I did a devoted course of study of like fantasy monsters. And with like a lifetime of, when I was talking about that escape, I was just like escaping into fantasy novels. And so my mind is always pulling from just magic and the world for inspiration. And so I feel like I'm always prepping, quote unquote, because like if I go to the river during the day and sit alongside it, I think about what nymphs live in that river and protect it, what rock people will come to life if I sit quietly enough. And so all of that is like the prep, and then running the games themselves. I mean, I have gotten really good at the poker face of staring at the camera while the whole time my hands are moving, actively typing, readjusting maps, making tokens appear where they need to be. And I'm doing all of that in my periphery. And while the prep is happening, like at the moment, I've really gotten focused less on prep and more on making sure that I myself am ready for whatever's to come. Because we can work so hard on the big dungeon, mapping out every path. What if at the end of the day, the players don't want to go to the big dungeon? We did all that work for nothing. So it's like, I don't want to say there's no big dungeon at the end of the battle or at the end of the adventure, but rather than planning everything out meticulously and focusing on that, I know some DMs that have, one of my DMs, I like mentor other DMs, and one of them was like spending like 6 hours of prep on this game, for a game that was for 3 people, or a 3-hour game. It's like, that's not a good ratio. The most, when I do prep for my games, the most that I put in is an hour. And that's like a lot. That's like a lot of time. That's like super long for me to think of how much time to prep.
Okay. All right. Let's just fucking full stop. Right? We're changing the direction of the show. What the hell is your game mastering style like? Right? Because, okay, hold on. You know what? Let me see what I can do here. First question. Obviously, other than playing the Son of God, do you have some theatric background? Did you do acting, theater?
Yeah, I was, throughout like high school, I was in like high school plays.
Did you just raise your desk so you could stand up?
Yes.
Okay. That was fucking trippy.
I did. Cause we're talking about DM style. When I DM, I usually stand so I can stay active and energized and like with it.
Right. So you are, as I said before, you are an entertainer, right? That's your
right.
Entertainers.
And so,
okay.
And so like I previously was, yes, an actor, but I think more than an actor at the moment, I'm a performer. I'm an entertainer.
Right.
And, but I do have experience. I was on a soap opera for a few years.
God damn it. Oh my God. All right. See, that's okay, listener. That's how you have to understand how handsome Rico is. Of course he was on a soap opera.
I was on a like nothing like public access soap opera.
Shut up. You know what? None of that matters. You were on a soap opera that was on TV that strangers whom you've never met watched and probably put you in their spank bank. So that to me is a win, sir.
Yeah, all right. I guess that's a win. I'll take the win.
Your game mastering style is one of theater, I should say, of the theatric, of the performer. You're standing, you're energized.
I very much like all of my games that I run at the moment are online. Unfortunately, I live here in Puerto Rico, and I've got a few friends that play D&D, but things don't work out as well. I like the way my games online go. I think I like the control. I like the augment of technology because I use a lot of sound effects, visual effects. I'm very good on like getting maps appropriate for the theme and setting, more appropriate art. And I think like visuals are a great aspect to assist that. But above all else, I am bringing the show. All of those things are a tool. And I know DMs that play with their camera off. My camera's always on. You're here to see me put on the show. And if I need to be someone else, I'm going to be someone else and through. And if I need to be a bit of an elder, and then I'll get into the pose a bit. And, it definitely affects the delivery if you're not like putting your whole body into something. And so I like to put forward my whole body, my whole self, and really feel my performances. Like in like a session the other day, I was like crying because I was like literally feeling the sorrow of the character that I was playing. And so I try to like really give like my heart, try to give my corazon.
You're doing all that all the time in every game.
Yeah, pretty much. And my schedule. So like most of my games are 3 hours. Some of them are 2 hours with the kiddos. It's usually about 2 hours because a little less stamina or, scheduling conflicts with the parents.
Right. Plus it's harder for younger kids to focus.
They always want more. It's more the parents are like, all right, we've got to go to dinner. So I've got like 3 sessions on Sunday, 3 on Monday. That's 6. I've got 2 on Tuesday, 1 on Thursday. And then I've got 1 that's every other week on Saturdays. So that's 10 at the moment.
So what is it that you do to avoid and or cope with burnout?
I get burned out when I'm not playing.
So you're so aggressively extroverted that you just need that constant feedback, that energy?
Oh, yeah. I live on an island and I kind of like spend my days like on the beach or hiking in the jungle or on my kayak. And I do a lot of like kind of isolationist in nature kind of romanticism. What's the painting with the guy on the cliff with the like the wind, the clouds? I couldn't tell you.
It's
romanticism, Frankenstein. When I come back, I like yearn for that, like that interaction and being able to bring people together. Also, like I understand like my responsibility. At this point, I have like cultivated a community. Like I've got a Discord of like, it's like 300 folks right now who like come in and out of games. And for some of those people, my like weekly, twice a week, or like someone I'm calling it you out gym 3 times a week, players, I have a responsibility to be there for them. They look forward to it. It's their escape as much as it's mine. And so I use that as a motivator as much as like, I'm getting paid, but like, it's fun. I know it's like a good time with friends because I see these people as my friends and it's everything.
Well, forgive me for being vulgar. At the end of the day, they're still clients, right? They are
That's not vulgar at all.
Yeah. They're still paying you for a service. How does that line blur? How do you reconcile the fact that you are generating an income so much so that this is your sole source of income, right? You are making your living, paying your bills, supporting your lifestyle.
Yeah, for the past 2 years even.
For the past 2 years with people with whom you have good, strong platonic relationships, but you're still taking their money. Is that uncomfortable?
No, I have a friend here in Puerto Rico. He makes candles. I buy a candle a week from him and I pay him the full price. I have friends who are musicians. When I go to their shows, I pay the ticket. I support all of my friends in their art. And I think all of these people, maybe they started on the opposite end of that relationship. They started as a client and then became my friend, but that didn't change anything. I think with them, I'm understanding of things. And when it's like, oh, I can't pay this week, I'll pay you next week. It's like, no worries, dude. Don't even mention it. Like, it'll just happen, you know? And it's cool. And I think when the line has been blurred, it's like, all right, you taught me a lesson that I guess we're either not friends or not clients. We can pick one or two, but if you're choosing to break one of those relationships, it kind of messes with the other. And so I think I've got a big enough client base where if that's a problem, it's an easy elimination of the problem.
In my past, I have often likened professional game mastering to sex work, right? Because you are doing a thing that people, as a general rule, enjoy doing and don't pay for and think that it is unusual or skeevy or inappropriate to pay for it. I'm with you in terms of it is art, it is effort. It's a performance that deserves respect. If we respect filmmakers and novelists and musicians and other stage performers, why do we not also appreciate and respect this to the same degree? But are you met with resistance? Because personally, I know many people who have said, I would never pay someone to run a game for me.
I probably run a lot better game than them. Is my response. That's not my first response, though, but it is a response. Is at the end of the day, I run a really good game and people want to play with me. And I'm not offering my games for free for everyone. And there are times when I say, like, you know what, today we're just doing a silly game. Anyone who wants to join in can join in. I'll post an announcement and, you know, we just run a free game. And so I do that too. But when I'm putting in the time and work and effort and assets, and I've bought products and I've, invested money into audio equipment, sound systems, learning all these things, a lifetime of experience. I think, like, sure, someone who isn't charging for it, they aren't charging for it. If they're good enough, maybe they should be.
Where do I find the Rico Corazon? Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah, close enough.
Close enough. So Rico, where do I find your promotional video, right? Like, where do I see here are 90 seconds with music and some flash animation or graphic or wherever, where Rico is doing what it is that he does best, right? So people can see, here's my money where my mouth is.
Oh, you need a reel?
No, yeah, no. I don't need a reel. I sat through the presentation that you and the other pro game masters did. I've talked to you privately, in person, and now during the interview. Dude, I don't need the reel, but there's fuckers out there that need the reel.
Yeah, I guess it's about time I get me a reel then.
Yeah, you need,
Because I mean, I have like full length video and things like that, but no one's going to sit through a 2-hour, 3-hour game that I posted online. Not if they want 90 seconds. I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and
get on my case.
Yeah. What I want is testimonials from your players, right? But I don't.
Oh, that I have.
Yeah.
I have plenty. If you look on my startplaying.games profile, it's got like 50 reviews there.
Well, dude, let's get into that, because I think that this concept is so new. There are a lot of people that have no idea what it is that you're talking about. So do me a solid. Would you just break down for you as a pro GM what Start Playing is?
Sure. I think I'll zoom out a little bit and then we'll go into Start Playing. So obviously I'm getting paid for this. How is it that people are finding me? How is it that people are paying me? It's from a lot of different avenues. A lot of this is word of mouth, Discord communities, like Roll20 listings and Facebook groups. But that Facebook groups in particular is a place where I'd get a lot of that pushback and like, I'm never going to pay for this. All right, then don't.
Because people are old. See, that's the thing, is that you don't, like, on your business card, there's no Facebook thing, right? Because you're not an old man. And so
I also understand that it's just not a market worth spending time in and energy in, because it doesn't, it's only met with derision. So I don't need to.
Exactly. And why is it met with derision? Because it's old people.
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
I say that as someone who is, my greatest social media activity is on Facebook because I'm old people. No, dude, I get it. That's one of the reasons why I'm utterly fascinated with you, is you are a shining example, as cliche as that sounds, of someone who is the next generation of what the hobby is going to be, right? And I have been in this hobby long enough to see those waves and trends, and what it is that you're doing and what Start Playing is doing. That's the next thing. That's the next big evolutionary step for the industry, is it becoming viable in-person or live entertainment that you pay for.
Yeah. So what Start Playing has done, their site, I like to think of them like a bit like Airbnb. You're looking for a place to stay on April 13th. You look to see what's available. And you book a room. With Start Playing, you're looking to play a game. Maybe April 13th. Maybe you're looking to play Blades in the Dark. Or don't
play Blades in the Dark. Don't do that. And
I was just trying to.
I'm gonna go on a tangent as to why I hate that game. Yeah, no, I got you. No, it's a perfectly good game. I think Dishonored.
Right,
I think Blades.
You're trying to play Morkborg. Are we anti Morkborg?
No, I'm pro Morkborg.
All right.
God damn it!
Let's say you're trying to play Morkborg on April 13th, but you don't know how to play. You look online. Turns out there's Rico running a Morkborg session at 5 p.m. You book them and it's good to go. So it's kind of a community of people intentionally looking for paid game masters. There's no like beating around the bush. There are sessions available for free, but most of those are like learn to play D&D or like character sheet walkthroughs and things like that. But it's really a place to find quality game masters that you can see who's been vetted because there are reviews. And I think that's been like a boon to me personally. They have great connections with like, you know, they're in like the Y Combinator. I think that's what it's called in Silicon Valley. I don't know, but they're like rubbing elbows with companies and have gotten me like, you know, corporate gigs, running D&D sessions for HR meetings and, you know, organizational like hype events. I've run, you know, D&D for like an NFT hype event, a stream that we used like the art as like the tokens for the characters. And so, yeah, all those, a few of those opportunities came from places like Start Playing Games. Outside of that, though, a lot of what I do is on my own and independent. And I think that like I met you because of the session, the panel, but a lot of the connections I've made have just been boots on the ground and just guerrilla marketing of just being there, just being a person who gets their face in the room, puts their nose in the right circles and says like, hey, I run a great game. You want to play some D&D?
Well, you do have remarkable drive. I said this at the panel that you have really great presence. So I can certainly see where people would be interested in paying you to run games for them, particularly given your background in education and dealing with kids who may have needs beyond what the average kid may need, right? I absolutely, that makes a fuck ton of sense to me. But what also makes sense to me is what you're doing doing now with, is it Game Board? Is that the company that is?
Yeah. So most recently, this is like super fresh. Like as of like this week, I've been working with this company called Game Board, the last Game Board, they say. This is Game Board 1. Hopefully not the last iteration. So who knows?
But essentially the last game board that you're going to need. And for the regular listener, you may remember them from the Gen Con episode that I did over the fall. I was pretty enamored with their product. But anyway, I apologize for stepping on your lines. You were going to tell us what you're doing for those guys.
Yeah. So Game Board, what it is, if a little bit of a refresher, I like to think of it as just a huge tablet. It's a tablet. It's something that's, effectively the size of a game mat, not, of course, like a cafeteria table size one, but a pretty large one, large enough to play, large enough to put minis and even like structures on. And what it is a screen that you can put your maps on, your animated landscapes, your images, for tabletop games, but also just games in general. I'm sure you could pull up just like your I think they've got like standard, like, Parcheesi, the classics. And it's really like a maker's product because they send you a digital board, send you the digital codes to 3D print your pieces. You don't need to buy anything. There's no shipping. You just make it all yourself. And what I'm going to be doing for them is, as I've been like on this tour of conventions, spreading the word on D&D as like full-time hobby, turning your full-time career, turning your hobby into a career. I'm going to be bringing this game board with me and spreading the word on how this could change your tabletop experience, really bringing it back to in person. Because I think we're in an interesting situation here where we've gained a bunch of skills being forced to play online for so long. But now sessions are moving back in person. But we've got all these assets, all these skills we've brought. Why put them to waste? We can use those digital skills and those assets, those beautiful maps that we commissioned, and the animated maps with lightning that we love, and use them on our table. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited to get my board because it was super fun to like just mess around with the board like there. So to be able to like understand it on a deeper level. Also, I know you can like connect them. So you can like get 4 of them together and effectively like 2x your.
Yeah. So they're like, I want to say they're like 24 or 26 inches by 24/26 inches. And yeah, you can connect them and make one enormous board. But my fantasy, of course, is I want one on the table and one on the wall, so that if I'm standing as the game master, I can just turn my head and look at the table state and not have to lean over the board or be in the way. Right. That is definitely something that I want to be able to do. Also, we use the table for food and snacks and drinks and character sheets and dice and what have you. And so the idea that I can mount 1 or 2 of them on my wall, I think is exciting. And I'm with you in that using the technology in person is really, I think, interesting. But I don't think that it is going to do away with the physical market. I think you're still going to always have people that want to have tangible toy soldiers in tangible terrain, even if they play in conjunction with a tablet like that.
Oh, yeah. And if you look at, I mean, totally. And if you look at like, there's a stream going on right now that's like a 1v1 tabletop tournament that's like 1v1 battles, Champions of the Realm that Game Board is putting on. They will put terrain on top of the board, and they'll put like minis on top of the board, so you'll still get that tactile aspect, and it all works out.
Well, right. But then I can have the best of both worlds, because I can have the physical tactile experience of the miniature that I've painstakingly converted and painted or printed out or what have you. And I can still have my light effect or my spell effect or whatever area of effect or fog of war is on the board. So I get to do both, right? I think that for me is what's really, really exciting, because I can't do stuff like that with just my regular tangible tabletop tools. It is cumbersome, right? And they get in the way. So I like the idea, particularly with light sources. That's something that I've always found fascinating about the tabletop simulators, is that you can actually have appropriate light sources for, well, my character is human and I'm holding a torch and this is what I can see. Oh, you're an elf with low light vision, that, well, now you can see X far. That's much more difficult to envision on a table without some sort of digital interface.
Yeah, so it really adds a whole like another layer of understanding to the imagination.
Right.
I don't think it takes away from the imagination. I think it changes it a bit and focuses it, but maybe it makes it more true to like the intent of the game master, the writer of the adventure, etc.
That also bringing up writer of the adventure, considering your preparation style or lack thereof, if you will, and the amount of gaming that you actually do, what kind of story structure writing do you do? Or the style of game that you run, is it more kind of sandboxy, the players go where they go? I'm pretty structured, not railroady per se, but I have an idea for a narrative, right? So I want to drive the story or the plot in a direction. How do you write this much and keep track of the continuity from so many different games?
Okay, so there are a lot of things to address there.
Yeah.
First, it's how to thinking about how I structure my stories. I keep things in a few levels. There's like a macro focus, meso focus, and micro focus. I'm going to start at the bottom. The micro focus, that's today's problem. I'm hungry. I would like to buy new shoes. That's like the micro problem. And those are the things, of course, we deal with every session. The meso problem, zooming out a little more, is this week, this month's problem. Hey, we have to figure out where the key is that our patron lost so that we can get into his vault. He has a treasure for us. And the macro problem is ultimately the treasure will help us defeat the lich that has been terrorizing the realm. And so there's like understanding the scale of the motives of your characters helps let all of the other pieces fall into place. Knowing the characters, their desires at those three levels really just makes for no need for preparation, because all of the preparation is made because the characters are going to go towards one of those three needs. You know what's coming. And so that's semi-structured, but it's putting it on the players to find where in the structure they want to go. And so you put 7 people with those 3 layers of problems. Maybe that macro and meso one is shared by some of them, but that leaves 15 to 20 prompts, because sometimes maybe they have multiple micro goals or motives. And so that leaves like so many prompts or places to go. So I'm never without inspiration from my characters. I love like very character driven stories because the players wrote these characters for a reason. They want to play them and they want to experience the experiences they are seeking, not mine. I can fulfill my fantasies on my own. I'm here to serve my players and play. I'm here playing and I hope to have a good time with them. But at the end of the day, I have a story that works in tandem with theirs and relies on theirs. More than theirs relies on me, I think, in my opinion. And not letting them all tie together, I can't tell you the secret of how I do that. I just like, oh yeah, this is Kyle's Sunday group. It just like, yeah, I guess they're going to Whalebones today and they think that they can take on Karsus. We'll see how it goes. And like, I just sit down and it's like, okay, yep, that's what they're going to do today. Let's make it happen. And we play it out. Also, it really depends on the group. I have some groups that want like so many combats every session. They want to fight everyone. Then I have groups that like that Sunday group, they probably haven't gotten into a combat in 3 months. It really just depends on the group. When I use pre-written material, it is so just like such a suggestion, like such like less than a suggestion. Like I maybe use like, if I'm using a pre-written adventure, it accounts for 15% of what we're doing. It is saying we're making a cake today. It doesn't say what flavor cake, what kind of cake, whether there's fruit, chocolate, it's a pancake, it's a scallion pancake. It's like we can go in so many directions just saying it's cake.
How much of what you run is pre-produced?
I'd say it at the moment it's half. I have a conversation with my groups, and I put forward different types of adventures, and I'll usually say something like, are we into classic fantasy? Are we into modern day magic? Are we looking for a classic Greek adventure? And based on that conversation, I can say like, well, if we'd like to be on the ocean, we can do this kind of pirate adventure that I know we can start off with this one shot that's written and see where the characters go from there. Or I've been cooking another idea where we play a group of sailing circus members. And, if I have an idea, I'll pitch it at the time. And a lot of the time, like, yeah, that's great. And sometimes they're like, I really want to play a game in Mythic Odysseys of Theros. It's like, sure, we'll do a game there. And it's like, I just give the players what they want.
How much then do you repeat material? For example, let's pick a number. You have 10 groups and it's about 50-50. So 5 of those groups are doing pre-written material. How many different modules or pre-written adventures are you using? Are 3 of those 5 playing the same module? Because that's not cheating. That's fucking smart, right? Like I would do it.
It is smart. Yeah. It is smart. And I also know Game Master. I know a Game Master runs 7 sessions a week of Storm King's Thunder. He runs the same game every day. And I think that honestly it get a little boring for me. And I understand it being less work, but I feel like I know the stories like the back of my hand at this point. And so it's not as much work. And I feel like it's actually more enjoyable to have lots of different adventures for me, and also easier to keep like the story separate if they're completely different adventures, different worlds even. And yeah, I think can lead to a little bit of more prep than necessary, but I also think I prep so much less than everyone else that it's
you do, because you're a magician, right? I mean, because it is science, right? There is math, there is metric, there's action economy,
party balance dynamics in like challenge rating versus the state of the party. Oh yeah.
But there's a dance, right? There's a flow and an art to it. And it seems to me that because you're young and your brain is not congealed hatred for change like mine is, you adapt well. You remember those groups well. But I hate to say something so banal, however it's pronounced. You just have it, right? Like you just have that thing that is going to make you good in a room as a presenter. A lot of game masters don't have that. And I can certainly see why people, again, reiterating, why people are going to pay you to do that and not want to pay other people to game master for them. But I can't wrap my head around the fact that you are that solid and that consistent that many times during the week, when so many of us find it difficult to run a good game once a week or every other week, right? Like I game master every other week, and I'm not always proud of the product that I produce. I can't imagine the pressure of doing it a dozen times in 7 days. Do you take time off? Do you take vacations? Do you?
Oh yeah.
Is there a slow period? Right.
For the holidays, I went to visit my family. I mean, when I met you at GameholeCon, I had taken that week off just to do my thing. And I was at Comic-Con like the week before then. So I just like took like the week off, and I was just like going around, and my people understand that. Actually, when I like travel, I meet up with them, and it's like a delight and when I went to Houston, I met some players. When I went to New York, I met a few players, and I've had people visit me here in Puerto Rico, and I feel like there's like going back to that like client friendship. I don't think there's a problem in dual relationships if you're like also keeping it real. There's a problem if you're not keeping it real. But when you keep it real, there's no problem. And so I think like I've been keeping it real with my players and saying like, hey, I'm going to be traveling, but if I'm here, I try to play as much as I can, especially considering there are times when, because it's Puerto Rico, if there's a storm, the internet or the power is out, I want to be, when I'm here and I can play, I'm here to play.
Are you going to do a GMing tour? So when you do the con circuit with the game board, are you going to be telling people, hey, I'm going to be in town these days at this show? If you guys, hey, it's a 2-hour drive at most for most of you. Do you guys want to get together and do an in-person game sort of thing?
I could, but I'd much rather just hang. I'd much rather just tell my people, hey, I'm in your town. Let's grab dinner.
Right.
And we play so much. Let's just be humans with each other. And everything doesn't have to be a transaction. There are opportunities, but I think the real opportunities are that like one time we're together to do something else.
So how much of it is selling you?
All of it. And this is what I've told a lot of my mentees, because I am like taking like game masters under my wing to say like, yeah, I can show you what I've done and maybe it'll work for you. I don't make any promises because I think that I'm extremely fortunate, aside from my like ambition and the fact that I also believe that I can and will get what I want. But like that aside, I think that luck did also play a part in bringing me where I am. But I've talked to some people and I've said like, there's going to be a lot of self-work, like game mastery aside, like no matter how your voices are, we probably not even getting to like character voices, no matter how your maps are or the balance of your encounters. If you aren't confident and can't deliver a statement with your heart, with a level of truth and sincerity that even you believe, even though you know it's false, then you're going to have a tougher time selling. And I mean selling not in like the monetary sense. I mean like in selling the bit, and like selling what you're saying is going to be tougher if you don't even believe in it. And I think that's what's like set me apart, is that just pure belief. And I think that, yeah, people, when they're playing with me, when they're paying to play with me, they're not just paying to play Dungeons and Dragons. They're paying to play with me.
How douchey is it to conflate game mastering with shamanism?
I think I see myself as a guide through an escape in the mind. And if you want to conflate that with shamanism, you can. I think maybe just like how a lot of therapists who play D&D will say that D&D isn't therapy, but it's therapeutic. I would say that game mastery isn't shamanism, but it may be shamanistic. And maybe what I do is shamanistic. My grandfather was a shaman here in Puerto Rico. He was a circus man and did flying trapeze with his brothers and entertained. And I think I channel a lot of his spirit.
That was something that you and I had talked about that we have in common, is that my grandfather was a stage magician, not an illusionist, right? But a stage magician. He didn't do big stuff, but yeah, he was a big personality and a confident speaker and could make you believe what you knew was not true or possible. And that, to me, I think game mastering does that. I think that group narrative, that storytelling, that building a narrative together, I do think there's something special about that. I can't go so far as to say spiritual, because that's just not something I've really ever understood, but there's a magic to it, right?
Yeah, there's the true magic to it. Indeed, like an escape that I've felt so many times, and I feel and I see my players feeling. And so that's like what brings me back.
Your childhood doesn't sound like it was fucked up.
I don't think it was fucked up. No, it wasn't like amazing. I had loving parents. I maybe could have been in better circumstances. Grew up like pretty poor, and I think there was a lot of a lot of tragedy like surrounding me. But me personally, I grew up with a pretty great environment. I think like a great home environment per se. One thing that did like I think spur so much of my ambition though was later in life when a bit of that periphery like caught up and made itself personal. I remember when I was 23, one of my very close cousins was shot and killed in a corner store. And, these things happen out of nowhere. And then very soon after, a close friend of mine woke up one day with a stomach ache, went to the doctor, told him he had cancer. The next day he died. And so all of these things happening when I'm 23, like this number, like swirling around and like two lives lost. And I'm still here. It really pushed me into saying like, I'm never going to waste a goddamn day. Not a day. I'm going to push and make every day count. And maybe if I die today, I look back and say, damn, I lived a life. Damn, Mike, you remember when we were in Wisconsin, we were at Game Hall Con? Shoo! And, I think back to great times. I think back to great memories and memories that I've had even not real. Memories that I've been able to craft and create alongside my players. And I think so many of those memories are the things that I'm proud of. And I think looking back and looking forward, I am proud of what I've done. I'm happy if I die today with who I've been. And I know that going forward, I'm never going to waste a damn day in this life.
See, that's what's remarkable about your passion for escapism. I don't understand what it is that you're trying to escape.
Maybe I don't either. Maybe I'm trying to escape myself.
Well, aren't we all? Now, you mentioned there was something else big that you had in the hopper, right? In addition to the game board thing?
But maybe we'll talk about that one next time.
Oh, what a tease. All right. You can't talk about it. That's fine. I totally,
there
totally understand.
In the works that are very cool and very exciting that I should be able to speak on pretty soon.
I tell you what, when you're able to talk about those things, man, we will definitely have you back on the show. But before we go, Rico, I want to make sure that people can understand where to find you. So if you could please unload for the audience all of the places where you and your brilliance can be contacted if people want to, reach out to you, talk to you about their game mastering, or maybe see your profile and schedule a game.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm most active on Twitter or Discord. Twitter is at Rico RPG. Also on Twitch at Rico RPG. I don't actually do tabletop on Twitch. What I do on Twitch is mostly Magic the Gathering and like live streaming conventions and IRL. Like I take the camera to the beach here in Puerto Rico and we escape together. Yeah. I mean, talking about why not to stream Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop is another conversation. But you can find my other content on Twitch at Rico RPG. Wow. I'm on Instagram, Rico, Q-U-E, Rico, but I'm not as active on Instagram. If you'd like to book a session, reach out to me directly on Twitter or on startplaying.games/Rico RPG. And there you can see my reviews and see my active sessions. And if you don't see one at a time when you can make, just reach out and I'll make the time.
I had one final question, but now I have two questions. Why no tabletop on Twitch?
It's an extremely saturated market. And I think unless you have something else to give, something different than just like, oh, we're great friends. Then if you're great friends, keep the game for yourselves. If you're great friends, then cherish the magic of it. If you'd like it to be recorded, then record it. But I think you're maybe putting a level of like stress, performance on yourself that you don't need to. And maybe it's practice, but I think like for myself, and I've had this conversation and a lot of my players have concurred. I've even said when some of them have asked, hey, Rico, why don't we stream this? I'm like, honestly, I think that this game is ours. This game is for us, and we all put our heart and care into it, and it's special and it's comfortable. And when it comes time for us to, keep it real, we don't have to worry about the audience because we're all here. And so I think along the lines of just staying genuine, keeping a session just for yourselves makes it more intimate and genuine. And I think I've cultivated with the idea of like 100 devoted followers as like a foundation to my work of like, rather than getting 100,000 Twitch followers who will each give me a $1 to get to 100,000. I'd rather get 100 devoted fans who can give me $1,000 each, and I'll get there. It's the metric of just giving more to those people will return. And I hate to think about it in that like monetary sense, but also I think it's a more genuine relationship for me to give that care and attention and intimacy to that group.
It is a wonderful argument that you made that money does not cheapen the experience, but an audience does.
Yes.
My final question for you in this interview, Rico, I cannot reconcile the fact that you are such a nice guy and that you play Magic the Gathering.
Really just got into it with like the D&D set, and they've I guess the marketing worked to bring over the crossover fans. But yeah, and I gotta say, I'm not competitive with it. I'm not playing to win. I'm playing to have fun. I play Commander, so I play to play silly. I play what's called group hug decks, so I like everyone wins and we end in a draw games.
Oh my God. Okay. See, now that makes a tremendous amount of sense to me. And to be fair to the Magic community, I have met a dozen or so Magic players who are really great people. So it's not all of them, but as a general rule, I find that is a community with whom I clash.
Yeah. I think there are also lots of different communities with it. So maybe you haven't found yours yet.
No, it's because I did retail professionally and I worked with Magic players professionally and ran Magic tournaments and sold singles and all of that. It's because I was deeply, deeply involved and directly contacted the consumer base for years on end. That is why I'm bitter about them.
Yikes.
But on that note, Rico, is there anything else you want to throw in before I sign out? I'll end the recording before I say goodbye to you, but I want to do a proper sign out on the episode.
Oh, no, all is well. It's been a great conversation and glad we could share it with the people. If anyone has any questions and wants to keep any conversation going, feel free to reach out.
Well, Rico Corazon, it has been a delight. Thank you so much for being on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder that the music on Why We Game is by 99 Instrumentals. Audio editing is by me, Brodor. Please tell your friends. Soon I'm going to start a Patreon and ask for your money because my sugar mama will not let me be a freeloader any longer.